Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Steve Schwartz of 10X Engine, and he's hopped back on the bonus section. So, Steve, great to have you back on.
Thanks so much for having me back again, Gresh. Great to connect again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you for all the awesome things that you're doing. And before we jumped into the conversation, I wanted to hear a little bit more about you and what you're doing, and so our audience can learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the test prep industry for several years now. And through the process of being in that industry and building that business, I learned quite a bit about content marketing, specifically content repurposing. I found that I could take one video, turn it into several videos, turn it into podcasts, turn it into written materials as well. And with the insights I gained there, I'm starting a new business called 10X Engine to help others power their businesses with content repurposing and content marketing.
Nice. Well, I definitely appreciate that. And you might not even be able to see it. It's over my left shoulder. I have this big kind of, master plan with arrows and all this stuff. And repurposing is a huge thing, how you can take, one piece of content or multiple pieces of content and try to be able to repurpose that into so many different ways. So could you tell us, I guess, a little bit more for people that aren't as familiar with it, what that means and how you've been able to execute on that?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So my understanding, content repurposing is taking content created with one particular purpose in mind. It could be one particular medium like video or podcast, or one particular channel like YouTube or Instagram. And I found that very quickly, if I did just a little bit of translation or transformation with one piece of content, I could squeeze a lot more value out of it. For example, I started off creating video with doing an hour-long live stream Q&A. So several different questions and answers over the course of that video. I could cut each one into individual clips and quickly multiply the amount of content that I had and what I could do with it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that word transformation and translation, because I think so many times when you look at all the different ways that you can kind of, create content or promote your business, you're like, okay, well, I have to recreate this in this many ways. But I love the systematic way of being able to say, how can I, translate or retranslate it and kind of recreate this in a way that is, I guess, perfect for whatever platform you're going to be on.
Exactly. So I found, for example, that these clips are great. What do you do with them?
Right.
You could re-release them on YouTube for people who don't like long form content. Maybe they prefer short form content sometimes, or for social media, each platform has its own space constraints. If you want to have a bunch of 1-minute videos for Instagram, but you've done an hour-long webinar, you don't need to create totally new videos for Instagram. Just take the 1-minute nuggets and put them on Instagram. It could be a totally different context, but the Instagram people will appreciate it, and they may not be looking to consume an hour-long webinar, or at least not at that place in time.
Yeah, and that's so huge, because I've always heard, and I think Gary Vee actually mentioned that a lot of the social media platforms are kind of like languages. That's why I love the word that you use, is because a lot of times, as you said, the people on Instagram will appreciate it a lot more if it's, maybe more bite-sized content versus the long-form content. So being able to kind of take those pieces of content and translate them into where they need to be is absolutely huge.
Exactly. And this doesn't just apply with video versus long versus short. We can take the video, and that could be your podcast. I think you do that already, right? You're taking this video, we're recording with video right now. You might take video clips out of this for YouTube, but the full length thing can go on the podcast. You could also then, this is work, and there are ways to make it efficient, but then we could theoretically transcribe this entire interview right now and make that the blog post.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get to connect with people in different ways, and you get to learn in so many ways. So I guess for people that maybe aren't even sure where to start, how do you figure out like what is going to be that, I guess, pillar piece of content that you're going to start with to maybe repurpose?
Exactly. I would think about, what do you most like creating? It can be literally whatever you want. My preferred medium is video, because I think it has the maximal repurpose value. Because I could record a video and be done. I could hand off everything else to other people after the fact. Whereas if I start with writing, if I want me to be in the video, I'm then going to have to do the video myself. So that's what I recommend if you get comfortable being on video, but you can do what works for you. You can leave video aside altogether and just say, hey, I'm a writing person. Well, I like writing books. Okay, fantastic. Each book chapter could become a blog post or an email, or you can take the text from that, make it into an infographic. Or you could have somebody else read the audiobook version if you want. But there are different ways to reach new audiences wherever you're starting from.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice because a lot of times, as you said, it's advice that you can start from where you're at and what you're comfortable with doing. But you also understand kind of like the pros and cons of doing, one piece of content versus another, or vice versa. And you get to realize that you can, create multiple pieces of content just by creating one piece of content, so to speak. So, Steve, truly appreciate that insight and that wisdom. For people that want to get a hold of you and find out more about what you're doing, could you tell us a little bit more about that and what you're doing and how we can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So I'm just getting started with 10x Engine now. The best places for people to find me currently are the 10x Engine Instagram at 10x Engine and 10x Engine on Twitter. I'm putting out video clips there every single hour round the clock. That could be a different conversation for another time around the volume aspects of it, but check me out there for more. I've got plenty going on.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have you back on the podcast and the bonus section as well too, as you're ramping up and doing so many phenomenal things. But I love that knowledge and information because I think it's a huge impediment for people to think that they have to recreate everything for every different platform. So thank you so much for that wisdom. Of course, the work that you do, and of course, popping in on this bonus section.
Thanks so much for having me, Gresh. Always a pleasure.
Definitely.